So I've got this Unity project and I want to play my game, which means I need some kind of playableness to it. I'm going to do that with an FPS, a first-person playable object. And you can import a bunch of FPS assets from the asset store, but they can be a bit bloaty. Instead, I'm going to follow this particular tutorial here, which basically just does it with one script and a few primitive objects. It explains it. Feel free to work through it. I've just tried to collate it into this little list here, which I'll work through and share with you. Let's do it right now, shall we? So the script says, start by making an empty object. So right click in the hierarchy, create empty, and call it FPSPlayer. Yes, player. Pretty important to name things correctly. Check the coordinates. It says the coordinates should be at 0, 1, 0, so slight 1 meter above the ground. That looks great. And in it, I need to make a new capsule. So what that means is I click on it first to highlight it, and right click and create a 3D object, a capsule. Right there it is. And move it in. You can pick these things up and move them around in the hierarchy. So if you've made it at this top level, you just drag onto there and then it's inside it. So it's now, this is now the parent and this is the child. Change your capsule coordinates to 0, 1, 0, it says. So let's do that. 1, cool. And it also says remove the Capsule Collider. It says to do it. Let's not worry too much about why. We'll just remove it. And then move the main camera inside the FPS player as well. So it needs to be there alongside it. So don't put it like inside the capsule like that. That's wrong. It needs to be inside the FPS player. Now, all of that was straightforward. Now we need a script. So I'm here in my assets folder down the bottom, and I like to keep things tidy. So I'll make a new folder and I'm going to call it scripts. Okay. And in that folder, I am going to make a new C# script. Create C# script. It's very specific about what it needs to be called. It needs to be called FPS Controller. Copy and paste this from the. Hang about. Give it a second to reload. Yeah, copy and paste this name. It has to be exactly the right name. Otherwise, the script won't work because it uses a class of the same name inside the file. Now, if you double click that, it should open it up in Visual Studio. You might have to go through a whole logging into Visual Studio process. I thought I already had to save time. Clearly not. Got to carry on with it. Hey, while it's doing that, I'm going to go back to the page and I'm going to grab the whole script. And it's super important to make sure you get every little bit of it. So right from the first character down, 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 down to the last bracket, including that last bracket. You miss any of that, it won't work. So really, really careful about that. And it's still loading while we do that. We can be patient, can't we? There we go. So there's the actual FPS controller. Delete all of that lot. Paste everything from before. Control S. Hopefully that has worked. So we now go back into Unity, and it has to just, every time you update a script, it has to do a little process to make sure it's picked up the changes inside Unity here. Can you tell I'm stalling while it just waits to do the thing that it needs to? I'm running OBS as well, which uses up a lot of CPU, so it makes it quite a bit slower in that respect. But we are getting there, yay! Right, so now that the FPS player needs this script on it. So I'm just going to drag this to here, and it does that. Nearly there, not quite there. Last one thing is it needs a camera, and it has a camera. We can either select the camera by clicking here and selecting that camera. Alternatively, we can just drag this camera onto here. And now, if I hit play, I should have my little character running around. FPS, WASD, and mouse. There's me. Although I've done it wrong. There's a problem with this. You'll notice that I can see the capsule ahead of me. I'm supposed to be the capsule. So let's go and work out. I hit escape to hop out of there. It must be that the capsule coordinates are wrong, or the camera coordinates are wrong. Yeah, Z -10, that's not correct. So the camera was wasn't in the right place. Also, the camera's too low. The measurements here are all kind of in meters, so you want it to be at eye height. So I'm going to say 1.7 meters tall. So change that Y coordinate and wait patiently. Did it take it? Was it happy with that? Capsule camera. Yep. So now if I hit play, I will be inside the capsule, and the capsule, I can see my shadow down there, and I can run around and jump, and also shift to sprint. I don't think we'll crouch, but we can see it all in the script. Yeah, that's one reason I really like this, is actually there's very little code actually here. It's not all of it incredibly easy to understand, but there's not much, so you can actually make sense of it. Anyway, there you go. That's us sorted with an FPS controller from that tutorial.